In some of the most chilling and heartbreaking cases, these four parents were responsible for the brutal deaths of their own children. First on our list is Seth Welch and Tatiana Fusari are facing murder charges in Michigan for the tragic death of their 10-month-old daughter, Mary Welch, on August 2, 2018. Mary lost her life due to extreme neglect by her parents, who had a history with Child Protective Services dating back to 2014 when traces of THC were found in their eldest newborn system. At the time of her death, Mary weighed only 8 pounds, a heartbreaking testament to the neglect she endured. Despite being aware of their daughter's severe underweight condition, Seth and Tatiana refused to seek medical help, citing religious beliefs and distrust in the medical system. This case is a devastating example of how innocent lives can suffer when proper care is withheld.
She coughed one time to clear some birth fluid out of her lungs, and they kept us under observation for 72 hours. He issued two separate flavors, forms of paperwork. One that had a bunch of notes on it saying all sorts of bad.
Prosecutors presented disturbing evidence, including photos of the couple's home in complete disarray, filled with bags of trash and filth. They even held up the moldy mattress where Mary Welch was found. It was revealed that she had been left unattended for more than 19 hours, highlighting the shocking neglect she endured in her short life.
Mold. Prosecutors also showed photos of the couple's home in disarray, full of bags of trash, even holding up the moldy mattress she was found on. They say she had been left unattended for more than 19 hours.
Her crib mattress was torn. It was soaked through with urine to the point it pooled in a baby tub underneath her crib. That mattress was moldy. It was so moldy that there was mold on the wood part of the crib.
The case was nothing short of a nightmare. An autopsy revealed that Mary suffered from chronic malnutrition, showing that food and water had been intentionally withheld. In August 2018, the couple was charged with homicide and felony murder. By June 2020, Seth Welch was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a harsh punishment, but one many would argue was well-deserved given the circumstances.
With what they call felony murder, while in the perpetration or attempted perpetration of in the first degree, they're alleging that you murdered one Mary Welch. That is a charge called homicide felony murder. It is life without parole. They're talking about this Mary Welch. It is a felony, possible penalty of up to life imprisonment or any term of years less than life.
In a shocking twist, Tatiana Fusari testified in 2021 that Seth Welch had been abusive toward her. She claimed that his control and abuse prevented her from seeking medical care for Mary, alleging that she wasn't allowed to take her daughter to a doctor despite the obvious signs of distress and malnutrition.
He started me in the face. And then I tried to roll over onto my right side to face the wall so he would just leave the front side of me alone, but he put his weight on me.
While Tatiana Fusari acknowledged the abuse, she also claimed she hadn't noticed her daughter's declining health or understood the cause of her death. This added complexity to an already tragic situation. However, in November 2021, Tatiana was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for first-degree murder. In addition, she received a 15 to 30-year sentence for first-degree child abuse. Regardless of how evil one might perceive this couple, it's heartbreaking to note that this wasn't the only instance of a parent taking their child's life. There was also the case of Lori Vallow Daybell, a mother whose actions shocked the nation. Lori's story is one of unimaginable betrayal and tragedy, further emphasizing the chilling reality of parents who take the lives of their own children.
A juror who voted to convict Lori Daybell of murdering her children is slamming the killer mom.
Lori Vallow Daybell is facing murder charges in Idaho alongside her husband Chad Daybell for the deaths of her two children, 7-year-old JJ Vallow and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan.
I know that I love you. I want you.
The couple is also suspected of involvement in the death of Chad's first wife, Tammy Daybell. Before this tragic series of events, Lori seemed to have a picture-perfect life. She was married to businessman Charles Vallow, and together they raised Tylee, Lori's daughter from a previous marriage, and adopted JJ Charles's sister's grandson, who had autism. Lori was described as a loving and patient mother to JJ, making the unfolding story even more shocking. However, things began to change around 2017. Lori started immersing herself in doomsday literature and apocalyptic beliefs. Enter Chad Daybell, an author of fictional books centered on preparing for the end of the world. The two hit it off, forming both a personal and religious connection, even co-hosting podcasts to discuss their extremist beliefs. This marked the beginning of a downward spiral that would ultimately lead to tragedy.
On the Edge of Heaven, where I tell more about my 2 near-death experiences and how that prompted me to write my novels.
Things took a chilling turn when Lori's friends revealed that she had begun talking about zombies, not the brain-eating kind, but people whose souls were allegedly taken over. She even referred to her own husband, Charles Vallow, as a demon. This led Charles to file for divorce, fearing for his safety and the children's. The situation took a tragic and violent turn when Charles went to Lori's home to drop off JJ. He was shot and killed by Lori's brother, Alex Cox. Lori and Tylee claimed they heard the shooting and insisted it was an act of self-defense, but the circumstances surrounding the event raised serious questions about what had really happened. Things continued to spiral out of control as Lori moved closer to Chad, settling in Rexburg, Idaho. Her brother Alex, who had already shown violent tendencies, conveniently moved into the same apartment complex.
I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I shot him in self-defense.
Is he hurt or is he alive or?
Yeah, there's blood. He's not moving.
You know, no weapons?
No weapons on me.
All right, come on out this way. I'm gonna have you have a seat right here on the curb.
Inside is Lori Vallow's 4th husband, Charles, dead on the living room floor.
What happened today? How did it get to this? And then your niece pulls out a bat?
Well, it wasn't verbal. He was getting close and she came out to defend my sister. Her bat.
Your niece?
Yes.
Okay.
And then she poked at him and then he took it away. I turned around and he hit me in the back of the head with the bat. So I went to my room and got my gun.
So you went to your room, meaning the room you're staying in?
Yeah.
Okay, and you brought a gun with you?
Yeah.
You always bring a gun?
I can still carry all the time.
Okay, so are you? Okay, just stand over there for just a second, guys.
Then, the unimaginable happened. Both JJ and Tylee vanished without a trace. Their disappearance sent shockwaves through their community, and the search for the children quickly became a nationwide effort. What seemed like a tragic mystery would soon uncover a much darker reality about the events leading to their disappearance. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that something sinister was at play. Suspicion turned to Chad's property when human remains were discovered in shallow graves. It was a heartbreaking discovery, and the remains were soon identified as those of JJ and Tylee. This chilling revelation brought to light the unimaginable tragedy that had unfolded behind closed doors. Lori and Chad were slapped with first-degree murder charges for the deaths of JJ and Tylee, and Chad faced an additional charge for the murder of his first wife, Tammy. As the trial unfolded, a jury delivered its verdict, finding Lori Vallow Daybell guilty of all charges. This marked a pivotal moment in the case, as the full extent of their crimes was finally acknowledged in court.
Lori Noreen Vallow not guilty or guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tammy Daybell. Answer, guilty.
Chad pleaded not guilty to all charges. Lori Vallow Daybell, also known as the Doomsday Mom or Cult Mom, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. She showed no reaction as she was led away to begin her sentence. Lori's story was complicated, and her crimes were horrific, but there would be even more shocking revelations about others involved in this twisted tale. Like the case of Timothy Jones Jr., another tragic and chilling story unfolded. Timothy Jones Jr., a father from South Carolina, faced charges for the murder of his 5 young children. During the trial, it was revealed that Jones confessed to killing his 6-year-old son, Nathan, by exercising him until he died after an electrical outlet was broken in their home in August 2014. Afterward, Jones spent hours contemplating his options, even leaving the other children at home with Nathan's body while he went out with his oldest child. Ultimately, he decided to kill all of his children. He strangled his 8-year-old daughter, Mira, and his 7-year-old son, Elias, with his hands. He used a belt to choke his 2-year-old son, Gabriel, and his 1-year-old daughter, Abigail, because his hands were too large. Jones then wrapped the bodies of all 5 children in plastic and drove across the southeastern United States for 9 days, making erratic trips and engaging in various activities, all while transporting the children's bodies. During this time, Jones researched countries that don't extradite suspects to the US, and even took his passport. He searched for ways to disintegrate the bodies faster and, disturbingly, played his oldest daughter's favorite song, Butterfly Kisses, according to his confessions and phone records. Jones eventually disposed of the bodies in garbage bags on a hillside near Camden, Alabama. He was arrested after being stopped at a traffic checkpoint in Smith County, Mississippi. An officer, detecting the smell of decomposition from his vehicle, led to Jones's capture and the grim discovery of his horrific actions.
It was two patrol cars, a black Escalade. As I was walking up to the black Escalade, I noticed a foul odor, and I asked, "What is that smell?" And they said it was coming out of the vehicle. It was a smell of decomposition. Just a smell that you don't forget.
The defense argued that Jones's diseased and damaged brain prevented him from understanding right from wrong when he committed the murders, claiming insanity. They pointed out that the children were not malnourished and did not show signs of regular abuse, suggesting that Jones's mental state and difficult life circumstances may have contributed to his actions. However, this defense did not hold up in court, and the jury ultimately found Jones guilty of the horrific murders of his children.
As to indictment 189, Elias, guilty. 190, Abigail, guilty. 191, Gabriel, guilty. 195, Natan, guilty. And it is so signed by the foreperson this 4th day of June.
And handed down the death penalty. However bad you think Timothy Jones's case was, it can't compare to the notorious case of Michelle Blair. This is Michelle Blair, who is facing charges for multiple murders. Her case is one of the most horrifying and tragic stories of parental violence.
Struggle with them all the time. They were never there.
In a shocking and horrifying case that gripped the nation, Michelle Blair, a mother of 4 from Detroit, Michigan, murdered 2 of her own children and kept their bodies in a freezer for nearly 3 years. The gruesome discovery was made on March 24, 2015, when Blair was evicted from her apartment due to unpaid rent. During the eviction process, court officials stumbled upon a deep freezer in Blair's living room, containing the remains of her 2 children, Stephen Barry and Stoney Blair. The police were immediately notified, and it was determined that the children had been dead for at least 3 years. The medical examiner ruled their deaths as homicides. Michelle Blair was arrested and brought to trial, where she confessed to the murders of Stephen and Stoney.
To my understanding, to get a trial is to get to the truth, right? I'm already saying that I did it. I'm freely giving myself and accepting life in prison. My son is worth that to me. So what I don't understand is, from what I heard today, why the prosecutors are dragging their feet. If I'm already giving myself to you, like, hey, I did this, what's the problem? You get what I'm saying? I'm not gonna come back like, oh, I didn't understand my rights. I'm not a coward.
Michelle Blair's confession revealed a disturbing and tragic sequence of events. She claimed that she killed her 2 children, Stephen and Stoney, because they allegedly abused her youngest son, Matthew. However, these claims were never substantiated. Blair's confession stated that in August 2012, she discovered that Matthew was simulating inappropriate behavior with dolls and later learned that he had been abused by his older brother, Stephen. In a fit of rage, Blair physically assaulted Stephen, pouring scalding hot water on his private parts, making him drink Windex and choking him. Ultimately, Stephen died from the abuse. Instead of turning herself into the police, Michelle Blair decided to conceal her daughter Stoney's body by placing it in a plastic bag and storing it alongside her son Stephen's body in the freezer. This gruesome discovery remained hidden for nearly 3 years. During the trial, Blair showed no remorse for her actions, insisting that she did what she believed was right. In June 2015, she pleaded guilty to 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder and was sentenced to life in prison. She is currently serving her sentence at the Huron Valley Correctional Facility in Ionia, Michigan. The case remains one of the most disturbing examples of parental abuse and murder.
You take responsibility of it. You're therefore sentenced to the Michigan Department of Corrections for the rest of your life without the possibility of parole, meaning, of course, that you will never get out.
Justin Ross Harris is a man who faced charges for the murder of his 22-month-old son, Cooper Harris, in Georgia. In June 2014, Harris left his son in a hot car for several hours while he went about his day. The tragic event occurred when Harris forgot to drop his son off at daycare and instead left him in the car while he went to work. The temperatures inside the vehicle reached over 90-32 DC, and Cooper died from heat stroke.
That's my patrol car. That's the vehicle I was driving that day. The blue lights, in fact, are the blue lights that I turned on when I first began driving up Cobb Parkway.
The father was supposed to drop the child off at daycare, but forgot and went to work instead.
Finished the work day, and then as I was driving down Acres Mill, I caught a glimpse of him when I looked to my right to change lanes. I caught a glimpse of him in the back, and I thought I saw it. I thought I was seeing things.
Harris initially claimed that it was an accident and that he forgot his son was in the car, but investigators later uncovered evidence that led to suspicions of foul play. It was revealed that Harris had been engaging in an affair and had searched online about how hot a car gets for a child. Additionally, he was seen making phone calls and texting about personal matters while his son was trapped in the vehicle.
Evidence to show that he was in a vehicle that was maybe 90 degrees or 95 degrees, but less than 100. Could a person survive in that temperature in a vehicle?
Yes.
Looking at the totality of these circumstances, if Cooper Harris hypothetically was left in his vehicle at 9 o'clock in the morning and law enforcement were called sometime after 4 o'clock, is it possible he was alive around lunchtime?
If the temperature at lunch was only in the 90s, low 90s, yes.
Harris was arrested and charged with malice murder, felony murder, and second-degree cruelty to children.
Suggest that.
Monica's an emergency. There's a baby on the ground.
June 18th, 2014, Vinings, Georgia. People at a shopping center watch in horror as a man pulls out a toddler's body from an SUV.
We don't know if the baby's breathing.
It doesn't look like it.
Do you see anybody around them?
Yeah, his dad, and it looks like somebody's trying to give him CPR.
During his trial, the prosecution argued that Harris intentionally left his son in the car as part of a plan to escape his responsibilities as a father, while the defense contended that it was a tragic mistake. In November 2016, Justin Ross Harris was convicted of all charges related to his son's death. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, which many considered a fitting sentence for the heart-wrenching tragedy. The case sparked widespread debate about parental responsibility, negligence, and the consequences of such horrific actions. The father was supposed to drop the child off at daycare but forgot and went to work instead. When the father left work and began driving home, he discovered the child unresponsive in the back seat. Despite attempts by witnesses to resuscitate the child, it was too late. The temperatures that day exceeded 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and the interior of a hot car can reach temperatures as high as 130 to 140 degrees within a few hours. The child was left in the car for around 7 hours. The case of Justin Ross Harris and the tragic death of his son Cooper became a highly publicized and controversial trial. The evidence presented, including Harris's online searches and his behavior leading up to the incident, painted a disturbing picture of neglect and potential premeditation. Despite the defense's attempts to exclude certain evidence, such as the online searches, the jury found Harris guilty of multiple felony counts, including malice murder and cruelty to children.
How old were y'all when you met?
I was 18.
How old was he?
His 30s.
Did he have a wife?
Yes.
Did he have a kid?
Yes.
But he loved you and y'all were best friends?
Yes. Oh, we had sex.
Did he seem nervous or anything?
Not at all. We talk about like everyday things and it did get sexual sometimes.
Okay. And were pictures sent back and forth? Maybe these are different parts of your body, private parts.
Discovered that he searched.
Harris was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for his son's death, marking the end of a case that shocked many and raised awareness about the dangers of leaving children in cars. The outcome was seen by many as a just sentence for a crime that could have been avoided with a moment of responsibility. Thanks for watching. This shocking journey through these chilling cases leaves us with one question: how could anyone do this? If you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another story. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about these cases and their sentences? Until next time, stay safe and take care.